Hi everyone, welcome again to the fourth instalment of MothersMeeting for the Marriage, Motherhood, Ministry and Me page. Once again, thank you to everybody who's taken the time out to listen to our podcast, not only listen to our podcast, I guess, but share them, and who have got something from it, something encouraging from it. It's really encouraging for us to get you guys' feedback, to know that you're enjoying what we're talking about and the fact that we're having honest conversation. We are now on Twitter, so follow us on Twitter for more insightful little tweets, information about our page, and of course banter, because we love the banter here on Double M. So yeah, find us. It's Double M Podcast on Twitter. So hopefully you guys will get something out of this one as well. This episode is called If I Knew Then What I Know Now. Exactly, what I know now. So I suppose I've asked you, Mom, and I've had to have a think myself as well. If there's one thing that I have learnt now in my later years that I could have told myself when I was younger, what would that have been? That one thing, or one of the things that would have made, I guess for me, transition into adulthood a lot easier. Maybe the ability to navigate through work, through ministry, through relationships, that would have made that easier. I don't know if you want to go first, or do you want to, go first?
I think for me, I was young, innocent, naive to a lot of things, and I think because I sort of led a sheltered life, I think I didn't know a lot really. I didn't really know much about people, right? Because my life was school, home, church. Then after you left school, work, home, church. So I was ignorant to a lot of things really. And I think for me, one of the biggest things that I wish I knew then is perhaps be a bit more worldly wise in terms of knowing people, knowing a bit more. Because I think perhaps it would have been easier for me. I think one of the hardest things I had to learn through the process was learning about people and their different characters. And I think one of the hardest parts in my life, after getting married, working, etc., having children, is actually finding out true characters of people. That was the hardest thing for me, because I know, me personally, I like to get on with everybody. Yeah. Try to live, a life that's pleasing to God, help people, etc. But when people start being horrible to you, evil to you, it was bad for me, because I developed gallstones as a result of the hate I received from people, and I couldn't really understand. I couldn't understand why they hated me, because I think, well, I'm a good person and I'm trying to. And for me, I found that really hard to deal with. I found that really hard to deal with. Trying to understand why people hate you for no reason. When you think, well, I'm trying to, because I couldn't handle the fact that people didn't like me. Yeah. Well, and that was the hardest lesson for me, because I used to cry, and I remember being physically sick. Yeah. Because this one person, I thought I'll say she was evil. But
say it with your chest, Maureen. How you feel?
I say that was the hardest thing for me, dealing with people's characters and their personalities, and how vicious and vindictive people could be. Because I couldn't understand it, because I think I grew up in a household. I wouldn't say it was perfect, but for me, it was a loving family. And when you're a child of God anyway, you're taught to love each other and respect people. And I just couldn't fathom it personally. And I say it did make me physically sick, and I developed gallstones as a result of it. I was going
to say, do you think part of it is because I very, very much feel the same way, and it does kind of lead on to my my thing that I wish I moved then. But also what I'm finding is that sometimes we don't because we've got good intentions for things. Sometimes we don't see how we can come across sometimes. And not that it's ever an excuse for somebody to be, as you described that lady was, evil or vindictive towards you. But I suppose sometimes I'm finding for myself, sometimes people respond to me because of a way I've come across that I don't realise that I have. So I don't know how much of it do you think, how much do you think it's your perception of how people are and how people have treated you, and how much do you think you've reflected and probably grown and seen yourself, I suppose, in certain areas? Do you feel like you've changed a lot, or you've had to change a lot in terms of how you interact with people to, I suppose, manage how people treat you, or to help cope, I guess, with how people can treat you sometimes?
Yeah, I've had to adjust and become tougher. You know, well, I had to become tougher because for my own survival, really. Because if I didn't, again, I would be doing things just to please people. And even when I don't do that thing, you know, I just find people will move the goalposts, because they'll say, oh, well, you did this, you did that. And okay, you might apologize or amend your ways, but then they just move the goalposts and you do something else. For some people, I just find you can't please them. And it's been a learning curve. I think that woman I mentioned to you earlier, I was, in my 20s, early stages of my marriage. And this woman was a grown woman who I could basically say is my mother. So for me, the expectations of somebody treating me that way, a grown adult, wasn't so, because you have the expectation, because, you see that person as a mother. So, but for them to sort of treat you in a bad way, it's something I didn't expect, because I've been brought up, respect your elders, that sort of thing. So I did respect her as a grown woman. But the way she treated me, I thought, wow. Yeah, but I'd say for me, it did make me a stronger person. But I wouldn't say it, that was my final learning curve, because, even through work, through church, you meet different characters, people are people, and some are quite surprising, really, and even church folks. Yeah. You'll be very surprised, but as somebody says, the church is for sinners. So, so you will get people there who are unseemly or not very nice. But I've had to adjust to deal with that, because if I didn't, it'll turn me crazy.
Well, it's the thing. Crazy. You've got to get tougher, because, like we mentioned in the ministry episode, the last episode, with church, and I suppose in life in general, depending on how you move through life, elevating and growing through different things, you're going to keep coming across these challenges, and they're going to be, some of them are going to be harder as well. So it's like, it's almost like training your resilience for things like that. But what I find then, I suppose, with what you're talking about, is the balance between experiencing hurtful situations and then still having to respond, or learning how to respond in a Christ-like way. Because for me, I'm sorry, Maureen, but some of the things that I've heard of, and I suppose experience for myself, but heard of in terms of what you've been through in the last few years or so, man, to have to respond to that in a Christ-like way, especially being in a position of influence and leadership, you can't just act out of your emotion.
Well, you can't, definitely not, because as I say, I think I mentioned it last time, for sometimes I would want to say, or say my piece, or give me a piece of my mind, but then I've got to remember who I am, and realistically, I think what got me through is listening to what God says. Because sometimes he does say, just be still, say nothing, and watch him work. And I have seen that happen. But I do know on some occasions, there has been times where I will say, perhaps, try and say it respectfully. I wouldn't say I will do that all the time. Because sometimes, your emotions take over.
We can only but try, Mum. We can only but
try. You can only but try. But I think I got to the stage as well, for me, I'm not letting people use me anymore. Well, I wouldn't say use me, use me anymore, because as I say, people do move goalposts, because you're, particularly in ministry leadership, you want to listen to members, and at the end of they have got you've got to be respectful and listen to their point of view. But for some people who are contentious, everything's a problem. I want, they have expectations of you, and if you don't do it, you're not listening to them or whatever else. And I got to the stage where, like I said before, I was the sort of person who liked to please people, and I will do it. I will do that. I will do that. Just say, well, okay, they said they want this, and this, and I'll do it. But they're running me ragged, and in the end, I thought, I'm not doing it anymore. I thought, well, if you want certain this to happen, pull your finger out and get on with it.
In a word, yeah.
No, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going to everyone beck and call. Unless God says to do it, then I'll do it. But I'm not doing it for people. I'm not pleasing. I can't please people anymore. And I think I'm at the age where I am, I'm moving up to retirement, sort of. So, and at my age, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. So I've got to be strong in myself, because I think I've learned a lot, because I didn't know it then, but the process as well has made me a stronger person, and to understand that, as I say, people will be people, there's different characters, some are nice people, some are horrible people.
But how do you sit with that feeling? Because I don't like that. I don't like the feeling and the knowledge that someone doesn't like me. Have you got used to that now? Like, does it not bother you anymore?
It doesn't bother me anymore. I think you'll get there one day. You'll get there.
Tomorrow, please? Jesus.
You'll get there one day. I think you have to, sometimes some things you have to accept for your preservation and your sanity, because in terms of mental ill health, if you're constantly worrying about, you're pleasing this person, why do people hate me? It'll affect you mentally. It will affect you mentally.
Because you're saying
it will affect you mentally, because you're all about pleasing people who basically can't be pleased. Then you have to still help people. But if they don't, like you, or they reject or whatever, move on.
So, all right. So you've said
the opportunity. Move on.
Perfect.
Keep it moving.
Okay. You are right. Okay, how do you do that then, and what does that look like? Because I suppose what I find interesting about yours and say Dad's approach is Dad's forever seeing the good, getting whipped, seeing the good, getting bashed, seeing the good. I find that he doesn't hold people as accountable as he should. Personally, that's just my belief. But he's very much, he really takes the word very literally in the sense of restoration. So his belief of restoration is to you can go back to how the relationship was before. I'm more of a once the door's closed, it's closed kind of person, but I'm learning that that's not always healthy in all situations. How do you find that balance? Is it possible for there to be, I don't know, resolution of forgiveness, but a difference in the way the relationship is and boundaries? And
I think so.
If you put boundaries in place, does that mean you've not really forgiven them? Like,
not really. I think you're protecting yourself, because you gotta realize that some people are just vicious. Some people are just, and it's not for you to change them. You just have to leave them to God. When you talk about reconciliation, reconciliation takes two people, and if you as an individual wants to make things right and the other person don't want to, you can't do anything about it, can you really?
Is that
so I'll just say move on, keep it moving.
That face,
Keep it
Mom.
moving.
That face you've been doing since episode 1.
Better.
Yeah, that one. I know you've been seeing it then, yeah.
I know. I think, but I suppose that face is because of experience, really.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, done that, wore the t-shirt, and with the best will in the world. I mean, God wants everybody to be just like him. But is everybody like him?
No.
Okay. Look at Jesus had 12 disciples. 1 betrayed him. Still loved him, but at the end of the day, the one who betrayed him hung himself, isn't it, really? So sometimes you got to leave people be. So if they don't want to be reconciled, or, you know, what will be, will be.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think friendship is good. And I think, you know, with the best will in the world, you know, I'd love to be friends with everybody. I'd love to, but some people don't want to be friends with me. Well, not necessarily friends. I mean, they'll say they're your friend, but sometimes think, well, are you really your friend?
Yeah, and that's another thing
really
as well. That word friend.
Yeah, exactly. Are you really a friend?
We apply it too loosely, I think, to everybody.
Yeah, we do. Well, you'll find out who your true friends are, really. Yeah, you will find out who your true friends are. Yeah. Because I think it's people who will be with you, support you, and you them as well. Through the good times, through the bad times. And sometimes as well, that friend might be in a bad place. So the way they're reacting to you is not because it might seem bad, but it might be because of something that they're going through. And I think as a good friend will understand that as well. Yeah. But I think you'll know the difference between somebody who's been malicious or vindictive or contemptuous, as your nan would say, to somebody. Who's actually going, you know.
Yeah. I just find it sad that there can be people out there, and that there are people out there who consciously and intentionally think, feel, and do bad towards other people. That is sad, and that those people go across the board. We're not exempt because you call yourself Christian or anything.
Yeah, not Christians, non-Christians. People are people.
Yeah.
People are people.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are people.
Well, what can we do? I suppose have less expectations of what you think how people should be, and to stay true to yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Stay true to yourself. You'll meet different people on your journey. But as I say, be true to yourself. And just know that you're doing the right thing, even if they don't do the right thing. Leave them be.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I say. If they need help, help them.
Yeah.
But leave them be.
Yeah. How do you stand on, I suppose, rectifying your mistakes? Because I feel like I've made a few mistakes in some friendships over the last 4 or 5 years. Like you say, you do things with what you think is a good intention. Yeah. And sometimes it's not until a bit of time has passed that you kind of realize, how you could have done things differently. And I suppose even having those conversations with friends after a while, sometimes the relationship doesn't go back to how it was. But yeah, sometimes I find that quite sad. I do find that quite sad. I don't like I said, I don't like to know that I've hurt somebody. I know that I'm that type of person who would deliberately do something to hurt somebody. But yeah, I don't like sitting with that feeling. But I suppose, like you said, when it's the other way around, if someone's done something to you, and it hurts, I suppose you just got to, I don't know, you've got to process that somehow and move and keep process.
I think, allow the opportunity to, discuss it or air it or whatever, whatever that, whatever you need to do is come together and talk about it. And I think it's really through the discussions to resolve the situation, you'll know whether or not it can be resolved or not resolved. And if if I've done something that I've done which has hurt somebody, and I've come to that realization, or if they've told me that, I'm quite happy to apologize for it. And I mean, I did it the other day because somebody thought sort something that I was trying to do something to them, and they did something. Thinking, well, I was quite taken back by the actions that they took.
Yeah.
Because they thought I was doing something intentionally to them. So, but they took an action, and I thought, oh, in my head, I was thinking, oh, it's probably because I've done something. So I said to the person, if I've done anything to upset you, please give me the opportunity to discuss it with you. They didn't discuss it with me at first. We discussed it afterwards. And they said, well, I made them feel this way, that way, whatever else. And I said, well, I apologize because I didn't really, that wasn't my intention. I was just getting information, but that's how they felt. So I couldn't really take it from them. I apologize.
Yeah.
And the relationship after that, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't changed because I've apologized, and I thought things are. But then some people, even though you apologize, they still don't want to reconnect or have that same relationship.
And what I've found as well is some people have a perception of you anyway, and if you've done something wrong to them, it will validate their perception of you, and therefore they hold on to it to maintain and validate how they think and feel about you. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you apologize. If someone's already decided in their mind and their heart that you're this kind of a person and that they don't like you, then you can have all the good intentions in the world. And I suppose, like you said, it's at those times you just have to leave people be and stay true to yourself.
So. Definitely. Yeah.
It is a big learning curve, I have to say. Interacting with people I find hard.
It is.
Hard.
But I think you're like me in a lot of you are a lot like me in terms of trying to understand why people don't like you, and you try to do good by people.
It's funny though, because when I come to talk to you now, I feel like I'm just being a wet blanket. You're just like, come on, Dion, we'll just do this, just do that, leave into it, la la la, and like you can hear the that you've come out the other side of it, and I'm still learning to be less sensitive to a lot of things. And I think with my thing, if that I wish I had learnt then is to not care so much about what people think. I feel like I've made the bulk.
But think about you.
Yeah, but think about me, what I do, what I wear, where I go, how I speak. It doesn't matter. I think from as long as I can remember, every choice that I've ever made and every choice that I have avoided is out of fear of being rejected by people. Even down to like I discussed in the mothers episode, even down to my relationship with Corinne. Every decision I've made, it was about being able to be pleasing to other people, that they would accept me. And so therefore I probably did, I treated Corinne a certain way, or didn't treat her a certain way, because I needed to be part of the people, the popular people, or the people that have the influence or whatever. Things that I haven't done, whether it be through writing, singing, places that I haven't gone, even relationships that I've been a part of, it's all been to get that validation from people. And I wish to God that I didn't care back then, because I haven't done so much. Like I can't even put it into words. It's upsetting to say it out loud, to be quite honest. It's just peak. I mean, I am grateful and I'm highly blessed with the life that I have. I've got, a husband, God's blessed me with a husband and children. And I know that there's a lot of people who are still praying and waiting for that. So I'm not being ungrateful, but I am sad that I let the fear of rejection affect me so bad. I haven't released any music. I haven't written any or published or posted a lot of my songs or poetry or whatever. I've started a lot of things and not finished them. Yeah, I just feel like I could have done so much more, because like you said, people move the goalposts anyway. I've always been different, period. Like in my day, it was the light-skinned girls that got all the attention, not the dark-skinned girls, so I didn't get the attention. I didn't have good hair. I wasn't part of the popular people. I was a certified in-betweener. I wasn't one of those who were like really ostracized, I suppose. But I wasn't one of those that were accepted either. And I wish to God that I didn't care. Even academically, I wasn't one of the most celebrated ones, even though I knew I wasn't stupid and I was bright. I wasn't one of the most celebrated ones. Vocally, I wasn't one of the most celebrated ones. Like everything about life just told me that I wasn't good enough, basically. Everything I was average and mediocre. And the thought of putting myself out there and the things that I valued most about myself out there was just it was petrifying, because all I could think about was how bad I would feel when people didn't respond, or when people responded negatively. But yeah,
with that though, the confidence comes within you. I think on the first one we talked about getting married, looking for love, looking for that acknowledgement, or that lost thing that you haven't got within you. Yeah, you have to have confidence in you. You have to love you, because when you love you and you have confidence in you, you won't allow people to mistreat you. And that's where it starts, really. So instead of looking for acceptance or love from external forces, start within yourself first. Yeah. Because you do attract what the insecurities that's already in you. Yeah. And the rejection, because I think if you're rejecting yourself, you will get rejected by others as well. Yeah. But when you have that confidence in you, you won't be, you won't have to worry about that rejection, because, having to sort of do your singing or doing things that you enjoy, because I say you stop yourself from doing it because the fear of what people's going to say, or the rejection that could be. When you love yourself, when you're confident in yourself, you'll just do it anyway. Yeah. You'll do it without thinking, well, if you don't like it, you don't like it. So you just do it. Just do it. Start with loving yourself, and I think as well, looking for acceptance externally isn't a good thing, because I look at like people who are popular, superstars or whatever else. These people are popular and they love the fame and the fortune because external forces make them popular. But these same external forces that makes them popular can destroy them as well. Yeah. Like the press, the press can love you one day, tomorrow they can basically destroy you. So I think it starts with you. You have to love yourself, accept yourself. If you're dark skinned and people external don't like dark skin, tough. I love who I am. I love who God's made me. And you're walking that confidence. You're walking that confidence knowing, of who you are. Yeah. Of who you are. I think for me, it's really sad, because really you're not just looking for someone who has thought and felt the way I felt. You're not just looking for that validation, however it comes. You're looking for it from specific people. Yeah. And if you don't get it from specific people or a specific group of people, it almost doesn't feel like you're getting anything at all. Because I have to say, like, you were one of my biggest champions, and I think you were quite forceful in your encouragement of trying to push me, Ezra, Corinne, and even Vanessa into spaces and opportunities that you knew that our gifting was would be great in. But I pushed against that, and I didn't even really see. Yeah, because you what I saw.
Yeah, it's really quite, it's eye-opening now, but I think this is the issue on seeing it now. And I suppose everything has its timing, and you have to go through a process. And
true. It's like, I mean, you've got children now, and I'm sure there'll be things in them that you can see, but they will perhaps want to do the wrong thing, and they don't see what you see, and they'll come against you. And I think a lot of these times it's because of external forces. Because, like, I remember, okay, you talked about me seeing certain things that was in you, and I'll try to encourage you in moving towards, that area. And you will sometimes say things like, "Oh, well, that family don't do it," or that. I think, well, you're not that family. This is our family.
Using everything else.
Yeah. So so you would use external stuff to justify why you're coming against what your me as a mother or your father wanted, because of what you saw in other people's households, and that's not necessarily a good thing sometimes. I think you can learn from other people, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what somebody does in their house, you have to do it in your house as well. Because for me, I know I grow up with my children, I know I want the best for them, and most things that I do, it's because I know I wanted the best for you, really, and push you in that area.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
yeah, definitely. And it's funny you mentioned the whole thing about the fact that I've got kids now, and I see I see things in them that they probably don't see in themselves yet. They're still quite young, but I also see things in them that is the same as how I was. And so now I'm actively trying to ensure that my children have the confidence and belief in themselves that I didn't have, and trying to teach them that thing about, don't worry about being different, don't worry about not fitting in, don't worry about if people don't like you, don't even take it in too much. If people praise you a lot, that your main focus is to just believe and be confident in what God says. Because you said something as well about you need to love you first and be confident in yourself. I find that was extremely difficult, and I couldn't go from that angle, I don't think. I had to slowly learn what God says about me and how God feels about me, and start believing in that. And I think I've got more belief and trust in what God says about me than what I say or think about me, because he knows me better than I know myself. So it's only now at this age that I don't care, or I don't care enough to not do stuff. So like say this podcast, or that little song that I did, that to the music that Liam did. I know it's not perfect. I know people have probably picked it apart. I know people probably haven't, some people probably got nothing great to say about this either. But
but that's you thinking that though.
Yeah, but even if it's true, which I'm sure there are some people who, will say, oh, they're just chatting or rambling. I don't know, people could say a myriad of different things, but for me now, it doesn't matter. What I could bring out could be absolute dust in comparison to a lot of people. If I post myself singing online, it could sound like absolute trash to a lot of vocalists. But I trust the fact that God has given me a gift.
Exactly.
And I trust the fact that it's there to be used.
Exactly.
Regardless of what people want to say about it now.
And I think that's what you got to do. You got to focus on the fact that, okay, yes, God has given you a gift, and it's why are you, you're showcasing that gift that God's given you. And as long as God's pleased with it, it doesn't really matter what other people think even to do, pull it apart, or, perhaps there's elements of it that, not in tune or whatever it is. I don't think it matters, because I've learned, if I know that God's happy with this, he will open doors later. He will create that opportunity if there needs to be an opportunity created. Because I'm not looking for validation from man in anything. It's like, we talked about ministry, like your dad going into ministry. A lot of people didn't feel your dad was the right person for the job. And it's not because, well, for whatever reason, I don't know, what the reason is, they didn't feel that your dad was the right person for that job. But when you know God, as it was God's ordained thing, as I say, although there was I don't know, uprising, rejection, whatever, God.
I love your diplomacy, Mom. Honestly, so professional.
I know. He's still standing. And you mentioned earlier that your dad's the sort of person who sees the good in everybody. He does. Your dad sees the good in everybody, and he always tries to resolve situations rather than make it escalate. Because your dad doesn't like contention, your dad don't like problems, and your dad wants to help anybody and everybody. But when you see people come against somebody who's like that, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
You think, well, what is it? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? But because and although people do try to come against your dad then as a pastor.
This example, yeah.
Just whittle away, still standing, God's still blessing. So for me, it's just awesome. Just awesome. And I think that's the place you need to get to. Why do you do things? Is it because you want man's validation, or is it because you want God to bless you, or you just want to, show your talent in terms of because if you love singing, so you'll just sing anyway. You'll sing anyway. And if you're confident in that, think, I'm just doing it because I love to do it. Who cares if nobody else likes it? As long as you like it, fine.
Yeah. Well, as long as God likes it. And
exactly.
I suppose for me, I don't just do things because I love to do them or because I can do them. I would only ever do something or withdraw from something if God says to or not, if that makes sense. And I think, like you said, that's the place where I've got to now, regardless of what people say.
That's good.
And I think I don't just love singing. It's like now I finally believe properly. It's funny because I was saying it to my therapist. It was so weird about I've been in church all this time and you believe the word, but still something's not connecting because your behavior doesn't step out on that belief, on that faith. And it's only now at 35 I can say that there's a connection there now. It feels more real to me. And like I think you said in a couple of episodes before, I would rather do what God says and use what God has given me and pass knowing that I've done that rather than holding back because of whatever other excuse or reason that I can think of, because I can't see that there would ever be a reason. I can't get to the pearly gates and say, oh, you know what though, I couldn't do this, I didn't do this because when I was 13 this person did this to me, or this person treated me like that, or this happened in church and these people were mean to me. God's gonna be like, what's your point? What's your point? What did I tell you to do? How do I see you?
Exactly.
You mean to tell me you didn't do something because that person did this good enough? He's not going to be like, oh, you know what, you're right. He's not going to do that. So, and I think trying now to be that example, because you can tell your kids a lot, but when they see it demonstrated now, it's a whole different way to it.
Definitely.
And I cannot afford for any of my children to do and miss out and suffer the way I do.
Definitely teach them to love themselves, to see themselves how God sees them, because one of the fear things, not necessarily fear things, one of the things that does happen, particularly in schools or whatever, there's bullying, right? And a lot of times the bullying happens because and a lot of people don't say nothing because they want the person to like them or they want to be part of that group or whatever else. But when you love yourself, if your bully comes to you, you will do something about it. You will tell somebody and not be afraid of the bully and get it dealt with.
Because it's already been instilled in you, I suppose. And I suppose that comes down to intentional.
Be intentional. Be intentional. Teach your kids about stuff like that. Someone don't like you at school, tell them to walk on by and carry on. But if that person starts bullying, make sure and come to you. Come to you.
Yes,
come to you or come to somebody and deal with it.
And
as a parent, you don't put up with this either. I'm sorry, I'll be coming down there myself.
I know, I'm on the road down the M5.
Dealing with it. Exactly. Nobody touches my grandchildren.
No. And I've told Eden as well, like, there's no secrets, anything like that.
No.
She's been saying her affirmations since she was 2. I used to have them on the wall. Yeah. I am wise, I am kind, I am thoughtful, I am what God says about me, all this sort of stuff. And I'm hoping, not hoping, because, you know, sometimes these things are just seeds and they don't come out when you want them to parent, but they will come out later on. Well, I can't afford, because
definitely
it's so it's so. I remember a situation where I was so unhappy. I hid in the wardrobe.
Laughing now, yeah.
I hid in the wardrobe because I was crying. And I said to myself, "Then you can't hide in the wardrobe, because if someone sees you hiding in the wardrobe, they're going to think you're an attention seeker." So I said, "Shall I leave the house?" I said, "You can't leave the house, because if you leave the house, someone's going to be..." You're overthinking. You're overthinking. I want this moment to just be upset, but I can't be upset because honestly, I was just in my head so much and so unhappy. And I think me as well, being unhappy, like you said, that energy that's in you, it projects out in your whole demeanor, whether you realize it or not. I remember Denise spoke to me once, and I was trying to explain to her why I feel the way I feel. And she basically just said, well, if you're going to walk around miserable and be miserable all the time, then people aren't going to want to be around you. Like, I can't help you because you won't let me in. Kind of thing. Like, you just want to sit here and wallow, and yes, okay, you're upset, but you can't keep putting up this brick wall every time about it.
Definitely.
And it really can affect your relationships with people. Feeling that low about yourself, it literally sucks the life out of all your good relationships, and it makes you do things to maintain relationships that aren't healthy for you. I've been in that situation as well.
I mean, you saying that, I mean, at the beginning you talked about, you know, if we knew then what we knew now. And although, and I mentioned about with me, I didn't like the fact that people didn't like me, the rejection of that, or and I think because I was blinded by that for myself, it took me years to, you know, as I said, come through it. I didn't, because I didn't know then, I couldn't tell you about it.
Yes.
Because now you're telling me that that's what you were feeling, but as a mother, I didn't know that was how you was feeling. Because realistically, I was too probably engrossed with how I felt in terms of my rejection, not knowing that sometimes these things are how we feel will be projected on our children. And it's learning how to navigate and to overcome these things. So, but you know now, in terms of, okay, how you're feeling, so you can use what you've learned now on your children. So you know, none of your girls would actually get to that stage where they feel rejected and alone and upset, because you can sort of help to navigate them through, you know, dealing with it, with stuff like that, dealing with people's rejections or people's hates, or if they don't want to be a friend and stuff like that. So because I say I didn't. I think it was only probably later on in life, in your life, that I knew that you're feeling that way.
It's just peak, because obviously when you think about your situation, like you were married at 21 and you had 3 under 5, and you were adjusting to that, and then the cultural, like I said, the cultural differences about being in church back then. I don't think I could have managed all of that. So, you know, you had to try and find your way. And to be fair, now that you've got your second wind and all the kids are growing up, like, I see how much you've blossomed now. I mean, can we just take a moment to appreciate the glam at the moment that you've got on?
I had a photo shoot this morning, that's why I look this way. I don't usually look this way on a day like this.
No, you look gorgeous, Maureen, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can tell us more about that photo shoot in a minute. But like, I feel like you demonstrating this confidence now in your older adulthood has helped me in my adulthood now. Had anything happened earlier, maybe maybe my life would have gone a completely different way. And I needed you to be like this now so that I could be like this now, so that I could help the girls now, so that they don't have to go through the 20s the way we've gone through our
definitely.
20s.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you can ask girls about the day, you know, who they spoke to, you know, and just get to find out about them.
Yeah.
Get to find out about them.
100%. Yeah, I'm prayerfully looking forward to seeing those seeds bloom in all of my kids. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
But yes,
excellent.
It's been lovely, ain't it, Maud? Tell us about your photo shoot first. And what and the photo shoot, was it for a book? You said a book launch?
Yes, for the book. Somebody's doing, is it an analogy? We can't remember. There's a word for it anyway. Where you get
anthropology.
That's it. Something like
is
that.
it?
You get
okay.
Combination of stories in a book.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've got my story in my book. It's about it's Warsaw Women with a Voice. So basically, we're going to talk about our journey and how we've sort of come through and, you know, reached the stage where we're at now. So that book's looking to be released in July. We had a photo shoot today, which went well. So yes, that's why I'm all made up.
Moving up in the world, ain't you, Maud?
Well, that's the blessing of the Lord, love, the blessing of the Lord.
Yeah, like I said, stay true to yourself. Stay true to yourself, and God will open those doors.
Definitely.
But yeah, thank you for having this conversation with me.
No problem.
I really appreciate that. And for everybody watching, we're going to record one more Mothers Meeting episode with hopefully your questions that you send in to us, and then we can answer them. So look out for the online form, or send us a DM about any question that you've got about marriage, relationships, parenting, ministry and faith, or just personal growth, development goals, anything like that. And me and my lovely mother will try and answer them according to our experience and the word of the Lord.
Amen.
Is that all right, Mum?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you, Daisy.
Legends, please feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And hopefully we'll have a lot more content for you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I haven't even stopped recording yet. But let's need to put this in the bloopers.